The bustling marketplace of Port Crescent was a riot of sounds and smells. Amidst the clamor, a sharp voice cut through the air. "Are you mad?" Lena shouted, snatching her arm away from the frail hand that had reached out to her. "Do I look like your mate? Who gave you the right to touch me?" The old woman, bent and tired, stood trembling in a faded shawl and oversized coat. Her voice was low and shaky. "I'm sorry, my daughter. I didn't mean to offend you. Please, even if it's just $5, I haven't eaten today." Lena's face tightened with disgust. "You people are so shameless," she barked. "Always begging, always disturbing clean people." People around the market began to turn. Vendors stopped calling out prices. Customers paused mid-step. Children froze with candies in their hands. Something about the scene made them all uneasy. Still, Lena didn't stop. "You're poor because you're lazy," she said, raising her voice so everyone could hear. "You think I work this hard just to feed people like you? You think everyone is on your level?" And then, before anyone could move, she raised her leg and kicked the old woman. The woman fell backward, hitting the dusty ground. Her headscarf slipped halfway off, revealing a head full of graying hair. Her eyes welled with tears, but it wasn't just from pain, it was from the shame, the public shame. People gasped. A boy shouted, "Auntie, she's old enough to be your mother." "Is this how you treat elders?" another woman cried. But Lena wasn't moved. She stepped closer, bent forward like a queen speaking to a servant, and said, "My name is Lena Sterling. I work at Horizon Innovations. Do you even know what that is?" "Of course not. Your children will never work there. They'll be roaming the streets like you. I earn more in a week than you've seen in a year. Now get out of my way." She hissed and turned sharply, walking off into the crowd, her expensive boots kicking up dust as she strutted toward the spice stand like nothing had happened. A young man rushed to the old woman and helped her up gently. "Mom, are you okay?" he asked softly. He dusted the sand off her back and wrapped his arm around her shoulders. "Come and sit over here," he whispered. A few others came close too, offering bottles of water, asking if she needed help. But the woman only shook her head and whispered, "Thank you, my child," as she was led to a quiet corner. Meanwhile, Lena was already selecting fresh produce like a queen shopping for a feast. She smiled proudly to herself. She had no idea that just a few feet behind her, someone had filmed the entire scene. Every word, every insult, every movement. She didn't know that by the next day her life would be unrecognizable. And she definitely didn't know the truth that would shake her to the bone. The poor old woman she kicked was Mrs. Chen, the mother of Michael Chen, the billionaire CEO and founder of Horizon Innovations, the same company where Lena worked and boasted about with pride. But by Monday morning, that pride would come crashing down. Before that kick shook the market, before the world saw her video, before her name filled blogs and social media feeds, Lena Sterling was just a normal girl from Willow Creek, a quiet town nestled in the heart of Maplewood County. She grew up in a two-bedroom house with a tin roof with her mother and two younger brothers. Her father died in a farming accident when she was just 11. And from that day, Lena promised herself one thing: I must never be poor like this again. She hated how people looked at her mother with pity. She hated wearing hand-me-down skirts to school. She hated being sent home because of school fees. At night, while her mother cried quietly in the dark room, Lena would whisper to herself, "One day I'll be rich. One day people will respect me." After high school, she couldn't afford university immediately. So she stayed home for a year teaching children in the neighborhood for $20 per lesson, using the money to feed her family. But she kept reading every day at the town's internet cafe. She would pay $2 to learn how to code Python, Java, and C++. She devoured them like food. While others were watching viral videos, she was watching tech tutorials. After a while, she started building small websites for local shops and churches. People began to notice her gift. By the time she got admission into the State University of Maplewood to study computer science, she already had clients. Her roommates mocked her at first. "See this one," one of them laughed, always pressing laptop like she's working in Silicon Valley. But Lena didn't answer, she just kept building. By her final year, she had won 2 tech competitions and was hired remotely by a startup in Metropolis. She moved there after graduation, rented a small apartment, and started living the life she used to dream about. Now she was earning in dollars. She wore nice clothes. She posted pictures with fancy captions. She rode in luxury taxis like a queen. People from her village started sending messages, "Please help us with small school fees. We hear you're doing well. God bless you." She began to feel untouchable. Even in church, the way she walked changed. She started calling herself Code Queen online. Her followers grew. Every little achievement became a post, "Dear poverty, you lost the battle. No one can shame the child of grace." But slowly, pride crept into her heart like a silent thief. She stopped picking her mother's calls. She started blocking anyone who asked for help. "I suffered alone," she would say. "Let everybody carry their cross." Even in the office at Horizon Innovations, her colleagues noticed her attitude. She never greeted security guards. She once told the office cleaner to stop breathing near her desk, but nobody said anything. Why? Because Lena was smart, she always delivered results. And in tech companies, results speak louder than respect. So she continued until that Friday at Port Crescent Market. The same girl who used to walk barefoot to fetch water now wore white sneakers to insult someone's mother. The same Lena who once prayed for $5 now kicked an old woman asking for $5. But fate, like a quiet drum in the forest, was already sounding, because unknown to her, the woman she kicked, Mrs. Chen, was no ordinary beggar. She was the mother of Michael Chen, the man who owned the company where Lena worked. The same man whose picture hung in the reception of Horizon Innovations. The same man who had once told his HR team, "Talent is good, but character is everything." That night, while Lena sipped sparkling water in her living room and laughed at online skits, her phone buzzed. She opened it. A video. It was the market scene, the kick, the insults, her proud words. She dropped the cup. The video had gone viral. Her name was already trending, Tech Queen of Shame, Horizon Disgrace, she kicked somebody's mother. Her social media was flooded. Her messaging apps were full of screenshots. The internet was on fire. Still, she tried to act calm. "They'll forget by tomorrow," she muttered. But the next morning, her phone rang. It was HR. The ringing phone felt louder than usual that Saturday morning. Lena sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the screen. HR Horizon Innovations. Her heart raced. She tried to act brave, cleared her throat, and answered, "Hello, good morning." The voice on the other end wasn't smiling. "Good morning, Ms. Sterling. Please report to the office by 9 a.m. sharp. There will be an emergency disciplinary meeting." Click. "No, please. No. How are you?" Just that one instruction. She dropped the phone and stared at the ceiling. A deep fear rose in her chest, the kind that crawls slowly and settles into your throat. She stood up and went to the mirror. Her eyes were puffy. She hadn't slept much. All through the night, her video had spread like wildfire. On one social media platform, someone had written, "This is the problem with these new money children. No home training." Someone on another wrote, "This is why you should always treat people with kindness. You don't know who is watching." Influencers picked it up. Pastors used it for sermons. Her name became an example of shame. Still, she told herself, it's just social media noise. Once I explain myself, they'll understand. She dressed quickly, choosing a dull gray blouse and black trousers. No makeup, no perfume. For the first time in months, she didn't feel like a queen. She felt like a thief being brought to judgment. When she got to the office, the receptionist didn't smile. The security guard didn't greet her. It was like everyone already knew. At the boardroom, she opened the door and stepped in. HR was seated, as was her team lead. And at the far end of the table sat someone she had only seen in pictures, Michael Chen, 42 years old, tall, confident, deep dark skin, round face with full beard and sharp eyes behind reading glasses, wearing a simple white shirt with a golden wristwatch, the CEO himself. Lena froze. She didn't even know he was in the country. "Sit down," he said, voice calm but full of weight. She obeyed. Her hands trembled slightly as she held her bag. The HR woman spoke first. "Ms. Sterling, we've reviewed the viral video. You were identified clearly insulting, assaulting, and humiliating an elderly woman in public. Kindly tell us what happened." Lena swallowed. Her throat was dry. I didn't know someone was recording. She touched me. "And you're not being judged because someone recorded you," her team lead interrupted. "We're here because of how you treated someone." She turned to face Mr. Chen. He hadn't said a word. He was just watching her silently. His eyes didn't blink much. He looked tired, but not surprised. Then he finally spoke. "Do you know who that woman is?" Lena shook her head. "She's my mother." Silence. It felt like the air in the room disappeared. Lena blinked, confused. "Sir." "I said," he repeated slowly. "The woman you kicked in the market is my mother." Her mouth opened, but no words came out. "She goes out once in a while dressed as a poor woman to see how people are treated. It's something she's done for years. It reminds her of where we came from." He stood up now, walked around the table. "I came from nothing, too," he continued. "But I didn't allow money to turn me into a monster." Lena began to cry. "Sir, I didn't know. Please, I didn't know it was your mom. You shouldn't need to know someone's background to treat them with dignity," he snapped. His voice echoed. "Even if she was just a beggar, is this how you treat people?" Lena's tears were now pouring freely. She knelt down on the office floor. "I'm sorry, sir. I'm really, really sorry. I didn't mean it. I was just stressed. I lost control." Mr. Chen looked down at her. Then he turned to HR. "Terminate her contract." "Sir, please," she cried. "You represent this company everywhere you go. Your skills are impressive, yes, but your character is dangerous. We build things here, not just code. We build people." He walked out without looking back. Just like that, the job she fought for was gone. The receptionist was already preparing her exit letter. The office cleaner, the one she once insulted, watched her walk out with red eyes and a plastic bag of her belongings. Her taxi ride back home was quiet. And when she opened her front door and entered her apartment, the silence in the room was loud. The curtains didn't move. The fridge hummed. She sat down on the tiled floor and stared at her phone. Hundreds of messages, some mocking her, some defending her, others just watching the drama unfold. But one stood out. It was from her mother. "I saw the video. Come home." The house in Willow Creek had not changed. The red tin roof still had that same bend at the corner. The narrow footpath from the gate to the front door was still lined with broken cement blocks. But something in Lena had changed. As the bus dropped her at the junction and zoomed off, she stood still for a moment, dust clinging to her black skirt, her eyes scanning the village road she hadn't walked on in years. Gone were the heels. Gone were the sharp nails, the expensive wigs, and the pride that used to stretch her back. She now wore simple clothes, flat slippers, a faded blouse, and the natural hair she once hid under wigs. Her mother, Mama Rose, early 60s, soft round face, warm brown skin with gray scarf tied over her cornrows, wearing a simple faded patterned skirt and white blouse, was already at the door when she arrived. She didn't say a word, just opened her arms. Lena burst into tears and collapsed in her embrace. That night, she couldn't eat. Her mother placed a plate of white rice and vegetable stew in front of her, but her hands just shook. Mama Rose sat beside her. "You see, Lena, we raised you with respect, but sometimes the world teaches what home could not. I've disgraced you, Mama," she whispered. "I disgraced myself." "No," Mama Rose said, "you just got lost. But thank God you're still breathing. That means you can find your way back." That night, as the crickets sang outside and the ceiling fan creaked above her, Lena couldn't sleep. Her mind kept dragging her backward. She remembered when her father died in her second year at university. They had nothing. Mama had to sell bread by the roadside just to send her back to school. She remembered when her shoes had holes and she had to patch her only jeans with needle and thread. She remembered when she got the scholarship to study coding online. How she used borrowed phones to attend classes. How she used to kneel down in church begging God to change her life. And he did. She got a job. She bought a car. She moved to Metropolis. She forgot. 3 days later, on a quiet afternoon, Mama Rose was in the backyard grinding corn when a visitor walked through the gate. It was Mrs. Chen, late 60s, smooth, dark skin, short and strong, with tired eyes, dressed in a simple brown skirt, rubber slippers, and a scarf tied neatly over her white hair. Lena froze the moment she saw her. She didn't know whether to kneel or run. Instead, she just fell flat on her knees, trembling. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice cracking. "Ma, please. I'm sorry." Mrs. Chen walked slowly, her hands behind her back. "Stand up." Lena obeyed, eyes still lowered. "You know," the woman said gently. "When I first saw you in the market, I thought you were just another proud city girl. But when I saw your eyes, I knew there was pain hiding behind the pride." Lena wiped her tears. "I didn't know who you were. I was angry at the world, but I took it out on you. You were angry at your own wounds. That's what many people do. They bleed on others who didn't cut them." Mama Rose invited her inside. They all sat in the living room on the brown plastic chairs. Mrs. Chen accepted a cup of tea and drank slowly. Then she reached into her handbag and brought out something, an envelope. She placed it on the table. "That's not for punishment. It's for purpose," she said. Inside the envelope was a letter, an invitation, not to another tech job, but to speak to young girls at a leadership conference to share her story, how she rose and how she fell. "You must use your voice to teach others what pride can destroy," Mrs. Chen said, "because the same voice that insults can also heal if it learns the right words." The conference was held in Springfield. Lena stood on stage in front of over 500 teenagers. She wore a simple green gown and no makeup. She told them everything, how she insulted an old woman, how she lost her job, how she forgot who she was. She didn't paint herself as a hero. She told the truth, and for the first time in a long time, she felt light. After the speech, many girls came to hug her. Some cried. One girl whispered, "I almost slapped my mother last week, but your story has changed me." Back in Willow Creek on a quiet Sunday evening, Lena sat under the apple tree in their compound, writing in her journal. Sometimes God allows you to fall so that you can hear the ground speaking. The lesson is not in the disgrace, but in the decision to rise again. She closed the journal, and for the first time in a long time, she smiled from the inside. It had been 3 months since the conference in Springfield. Lena was no longer trending online, but her name still left a bitter taste in some people's mouths. She had tried applying to tech companies. None replied. She called some of her old friends. Most ignored her. Even some churches didn't want her speaking to their youth. "We don't want controversy," one pastor said gently. It hurt, but she didn't fight it. Instead, she started teaching children in her village how to use a computer. The village secondary school had one old laptop, slow and shaky, but she used it every afternoon under the apple tree behind the school building. Her first students were 3 girls and a boy. By the second week, 10 more had joined. She wasn't paid. She didn't care. She was healing. One Monday morning, just after her usual morning devotion with Mama Rose, someone knocked on their wooden gate. Lena opened it, and her heart jumped. Standing there tall and sharp in his white shirt was Michael Chen himself. Mid-40s, clean-shaved, caramel skin, strong jawline, dark designer glasses, holding a leather bag in one hand with black polished shoes stained lightly with village dust. Yes, the same Michael Chen, the tech billionaire CEO of Horizon Innovations. He removed his glasses slowly, his eyes were calm, watching her. "Good morning, Ms. Lena." Lena's throat tightened. "Sir, I hope I'm not disturbing." She stepped aside quickly. "No, sir. Please come in." Mama Rose, hearing the visitor's voice, stepped out of the kitchen with flour on her hands. Her eyes widened when she saw him. "Ah, this face is too familiar." Lena whispered to her, "Mama, he's the CEO, the one I disgraced myself under." Mama gasped. "Jesus is Lord." But Michael smiled and bowed his head slightly. "I'm only a man, Ma. Thank you for welcoming me." They all sat in the small parlor. After a few minutes of light talk and tea, Michael turned to Lena. "You've changed," he said simply. Lena nodded. "Life forced me to. I saw the video of your speech and I've read the stories about what you're doing in the village." She blinked, surprised. He continued, "What impressed me wasn't just your honesty. It was your courage. Not everyone gets up after such a fall." Lena lowered her head. "There's a new project we're working on," he said. "A program to train 10,000 rural girls in tech across the country. It's called Empower Tomorrow. We need someone who understands both the pain and the process." He brought out a contract and slid it across the table. "We want you to lead it." For a moment, the world stood still. Lena stared at the paper, her fingers trembled as she touched it. This wasn't just a job, it was redemption. "I don't deserve this," she whispered. Michael looked at her and said, "That's where you're wrong. You deserve it now more than ever, because now you'll never forget where you came from." Mama Rose let out a soft amen and wiped her eyes with the edge of her wrapper. By the next month, Lena was in Capital City. But this time, she wasn't going in as the prideful girl who insulted a stranger. She was going in as a woman who had been broken, who had learned, who had grown. She didn't hide her past. In every village they visited, she told the story, not to gain pity, but to give warning. The Empower Tomorrow project went viral. Videos of young girls learning coding under trees and in small town halls flooded social media. Lena's name returned to the internet, this time in praise. One headline read, "From Shame to Purpose, The Fall and Rise of Lena Sterling." She smiled at the article, closed the tab, and got back to work. On her birthday, she received a handwritten letter. It was from Mrs. Chen. "My daughter, many people fall, but not many get up with purpose in their hands. You didn't just change your story, you changed mine, too. Keep walking with humility. Keep building with grace. We are proud of you. Love, Mama Chen." She read the letter 3 times, hugged it to her chest, and wept. Not from pain, but from joy. Sometimes the very person you push down may be the one to lift you back up. And sometimes the worst day of your life can become the seed of your purpose. Lena learned that lesson not in a classroom but in life, and now she was using that lesson to light the way for others.